At a neighbor's party, my husband humiliated me in front of everyone, calling me a useless woman who gets $50,000 a month in living expenses and still dresses like she shops at flea markets. When I got home, I ran straight into his mistress, wrapped in my bath towel, walking out of my bathroom. Later, I learned the truth, that so-called $50,000 a month wasn't spent on me at all. It paid for his mistress, his luxury watches, and his carefully maintained image of success. I flipped the dining table. I exposed the bank statements. I tore off his perfect husband mask in front of everyone, and in court, using his own words, I sent him straight to a final ending where he lost everything. I stood in the kitchen, gripping a dishcloth so tightly my fingers hurt. The party from last night kept me awake until dawn. My mind replayed the same scene over and over, my husband, Jason, tapping his fork against my dress, like he was knocking on a piece of moldy wood. "Look at Emily," he said loudly, smiling charmingly. Every word felt like a needle. $50,000 a month in living expenses. And she still manages to dress like she shops at a flea market. 20 neighbors were watching. My face burned. That dress was my favorite. I'd saved for 3 months to buy it. After discounts, it was $189. Before cutting off the tag, I touched the fabric 3 times. Across from me sat Lily. She wore a silver sequined gown, a diamond necklace glittering at her throat. She smiled at me, the kind of smile that said how pitiful. I lowered my head and pretended to cut my steak. That's when I noticed the new watch on Jason's wrist. I'd seen it in a magazine. A brand new model released just last week. $300,000. That was half a year of my living expenses. "Can't you learn something from Lily?" Jason was still talking as he drove us home. He was behind the wheel of his new Mercedes. Even the steering wheel was new. "All the other wives know how to dress. Can't you give me a little dignity?" He sighed, like he'd been putting up with me for years. "I work so hard every day. Can't you be more understanding?" I bit my lip and said nothing. That was a habit I'd developed over 5 years of marriage. If I bit my lip, I wouldn't cry. If I bit my lip, I wouldn't say, "I want to buy pretty clothes too." The car pulled into the garage. Jason got out first. He didn't wait for me. I unbuckled my seatbelt slowly. My hands were shaking. The first crack, I stood in the bathroom for a long time. The towel lay damp on the floor, soaked with a perfume I didn't recognize. Not the one I used. The one I used was a birthday gift from Jason, 50 milliliters. Half a bottle left after a year. Something shiny caught my eye in the trash. I bent down and saw a black satin tag. Gold lettering spelled out a luxury brand name. I knew that brand. Lily had been wearing their lingerie last night. The cheapest set cost $800. I'd never bought anything from that brand. Jason always said, "There's no need." At the bottom of the trash were more things: a hotel toothbrush wrapper printed with Crown Hotel, the most expensive hotel in the city. A crumpled receipt from a high-end Japanese restaurant for $120. The date, 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. Jason told me he was working late. I walked out of the bathroom, my fingers ice cold. The computer was in the study. It was Jason's old laptop. After he bought a new one, he gave this to me. It was slow, but I'd never complained. For the first time, I logged into the online banking account linked to the secondary card he'd given me. The password was my birthday. "Easy to remember," he'd said. A long list of transactions filled the screen. I clicked on the most recent month. Restaurant charges, $3,200 hotel charges, $1,800 jewelry store, $12,000 women's clothing stores, $6,700. Many of these places I'd never been to. At the times of these purchases, I'd been home, cooking, cleaning, waiting for him. I clicked past 5 years. The page took a long time to load. When the number finally appeared, I counted it 3 times. Total spending over 5 years, $2,987,000. Average per month, $49,783. Almost $50,000. Jason hadn't lied to the neighbors. He really did give me $50,000 a month, but my own bank account received only $12,000 each month. "The rest I'm saving for you," he'd said. "I'm afraid you'd spend it recklessly." I sat alone in the dark study, the glow of the screen lighting my face. Jason's voice echoed in my head from the night before. "I give her $50,000 a month. And it's still not enough. It's never enough." I opened the calculator on my phone. If I really received $50,000 a month, 5 years would be $3 million. But the most expensive item in my closet was a winter coat I'd bought on sale for $200. My savings totaled $37,000. $30,000 of that had been secretly given to me by my father. So where had the remaining $2,963,000 gone? Laughter drifted in from outside. I walked to the window. In the yard, Jason was helping Lily fix the chain on her bicycle. They stood very close. Lily said something, and Jason burst out laughing. I hadn't heard that kind of laughter in years. Easy, unguarded, happy, not like the sighs and impatience he brought home to me. I stepped away from the window. The numbers on the screen burned my eyes. If that $50,000 was really for me, I whispered to myself, then why was I always the one who never had enough? The breakfast table was covered with a white tablecloth. My mother had given it to me as a wedding gift, pure cotton. After 5 years of washing, it had turned slightly yellow. Jason sat across from me, scrolling on his phone. In front of him were fried eggs, bacon, and avocado, all made by me at 6 that morning. There's a community gathering today, he said without looking up. You need to go. Dress properly. I placed the printed bank statements on the table, right next to his plate. The paper was thin, but the sound it made was loud. We should get a divorce. Jason froze, his fork suspended in midair. Slowly, he looked up at me, like he was staring at a stranger. What did you just say? Divorce. I repeated. I've already signed the papers. He set down his fork and laughed, a cold laugh, one corner of his mouth lifting. Emily, are you awake? Do you even know what you're saying? I do, I said calmly, surprising even myself. $50,000 a month. I actually get 12. Where did the rest go? Jason's face changed. He stood up so abruptly the chair scraped against the floor. You checked my accounts? His voice shot up. You checked my accounts? I feed you, clothe you, house you, and this is how you repay me. He grabbed something off the table. My favorite mug. I'd found it at a flea market. White ceramic, painted with small sunflowers. $9.99. I'd used it for 4 years. You're just like this piece of trash, he shouted. Cheap, useless, taking up space. He threw it at the wall. It shattered. Pieces flew everywhere. One shard landed near my feet. The sunflower split clean in half. I stared at the fragments. Suddenly, I didn't want the mug anymore. Suddenly, I didn't want this marriage anymore. Suddenly, I didn't want to be something cheap anymore. I stood up and grabbed the edge of the tablecloth. The white tablecloth my mother had given me. I yanked it hard. Plates, cups, food, silverware, all flew into the air. An egg slid down Jason's hair. Bacon caught on his shoulder. The wine bottle tipped over. Red wine pouring out like blood, soaking into his favorite custom-made rug, the one he always bragged about. It's handmade in Italy, he loved to say. Costs more than your crappy car. Now the wine bled into it, spreading into a dark stain. You're insane, Jason screamed, wiping yolk from his face. You're fucking insane. The neighbors were drawn by the noise. I saw curtains being pulled back across the street. People were watching. Jason noticed too, and instantly, he changed. His shoulders relaxed. His expression softened. His voice dropped. Sweetheart, he said gently, turning toward the window. I know you've been under a lot of pressure. I know I've been busy with work lately and neglected you. He spread his hands helplessly, sighing. She's having another episode. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. The acting was flawless. I looked at him and suddenly remembered our first date in college. He'd been in the drama club, playing a prince in a stage play. I'd applauded from the audience. He told me he liked how quiet I was, said I was different from other loud girls. He was still acting now. The only difference was that I was no longer the audience. I was the prop. Someone outside said, "Poor Jason, giving her that much money every month, and she's still not satisfied." Yeah, I saw her sweater the other day, completely pilled, and she was still wearing it. Give her money and she doesn't even know how to spend it. My fingers dug into my palm. The pain kept me clear-headed. The doorbell rang. Lily stood at the door in a silk robe. Her hair was carefully styled, like she'd just woken up. But not really. Oh my God. What's all this noise? She said as she squeezed past me, naturally taking Jason's side, her hand resting on his arm. Jason, Emily might just be in a bad mood. You know how women are, there are always a few days every month when emotions get unstable. She turned to me, eyes bright. Emily, don't make a scene. A husband like this is hard to find. You should learn to cherish what you have. As she spoke, she leaned closer to Jason. The neckline of her robe slipped slightly. Jason didn't push her away. I looked at the two of them standing together. The towel, the tag, the bank statements, the hotel receipt, all the fragments snapped into place, forming a picture so clear it hurt. And in that picture, there was no place for me. I laughed, for the first time in 5 years, in front of everyone. I straightened my back. My back was straight. My mother used to say that when I was a child learning ballet. My teachers praised my posture. I stopped dancing later because Jason said, "What's the point of dancing?" Now my back was straight again. "Lily," I said clearly, every word landing like a small stone thrown with precision. "Do you like this house?" She froze. "What do you mean? Do you like my towel? My bathroom? Sitting at my table and eating the breakfast I cooked?" The neighbors fell silent. Everyone was listening. Jason tried to speak. I raised my hand. I'd never done that before. He stopped. "This position," I said, smiling at Lily. "As the wife, I'll give it to you. I hope it suits you better than it suited me. The mattress is a bit old. Tell him to buy a new one. Towels need to be disinfected weekly or you'll get skin irritation. His shirts need to be hand-washed or the collars wrinkle." I turned and walked upstairs. Halfway up, I stopped. "Oh, and one more thing," I said without turning around. "Birth control pills are in the top cabinet in the bathroom. He doesn't want kids, but he hates condoms. Be careful." I went upstairs and closed the door. Leaning against it, I listened to the explosion downstairs. Jason shouting, Lily crying, neighbors whispering. I didn't cry. I was smiling. I smiled until tears streamed down my face. My mouth still curved upward. I wrote the divorce agreement myself, downloaded a template online and spent the entire night revising it. Jason refused to sign. "You want a divorce?" He tore the agreement in half, then into quarters, throwing the scraps in my face. "Fine. Pay me back first." We were in the yard. He did it on purpose, Saturday morning, when all the neighbors were home. "Pay back what?" I asked. "The bride price. $100,000. He shouted, loud enough for the entire street to hear. "And 5 years of living expenses. $50,000 a month. 5 years, that's $3 million. Total, $3.1 million. The neighbors gathered around, people holding coffee, walking dogs, pushing strollers. "I was blind to marry you." Jason pointed at my face, his fingers shaking, his performance flawless. "You're a gold-digging con artist, a parasite who lives off men." The men nodded in unison. "Too many women like this these days," someone said. "Getting married just for money. Jason's such a good guy." Another added. "Hardworking. Always helpful to the neighbors." "Yeah, he fixed my pipes last time they broke." Some of the women looked like they wanted to speak. I saw Mrs. Miller open her mouth, but her husband tugged her arm. She closed it again. Mrs. Parker held her baby. Our eyes met briefly. She looked away. "I'm going to sue you for marriage fraud," Jason continued. Eyes red, anger or acting. I couldn't tell. "I'll ruin you. I'll make sure your parents can't even hold their heads up back home." The wind rattled the paper scraps in my hands. I bent down and picked them up, one piece at a time. They were small, like snow in winter. When I picked up the last piece, I stood and looked at him. He was still yelling, spittle flying. "I've seen women like you before. Lazy, greedy, can't dress, can't even give me a child." The yard went quiet. That line, "can't give me a child," was a weapon. He chose today to use it. I looked into his eyes for a long time, long enough that he grew uneasy, his shouting fading. "I'll give the reason," I said calmly, not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. "But not today." I turned and walked back inside. My steps were steady. Behind me, Jason shouted, "She's guilty. She admitted it. You all saw that." I didn't turn around. I knew he was smiling, a victorious smile, but I also knew something else. The real war had only just begun, and I had nothing left to lose, except myself. And I was done losing her. The community gathering happened once a month. Jason insisted I attend. You have to go, he said. Let people see who you really are. He wore a brand new suit. I wore an old dress, the same flea market dress. Cleaned, pressed, still wrinkled. The gathering was held in his backyard. No, my backyard. The house was still in my name. His family had paid the down payment, but the mortgage over the past 5 years had come out of my living expenses. Long tables were set up in the yard. The food was abundant. Most of it I'd prepared myself. Waking up at 5 and working until 9. Jason moved through the crowd easily, laughing and chatting. He slung an arm around Mr. Thompson's shoulders, talking about the stock market. He poured drinks for Mrs. Wilson, complimented her new hairstyle. When he passed me, he lowered his voice. Smile. Don't embarrass me. I smiled. My lips curved upward. My eyes didn't move. Someone asked, Jason, is your wife in a bad mood again? About that last incident, Jason sighed heavily. She overthinks things. I've been busy with work. Don't spend enough time with her. And she throws tantrums. Even talks about divorce. A new neighbor, unaware of the unspoken rules, asked bluntly, why don't you two have kids? Once a woman has a child, she settles down. The air froze. Jason's expression was impressive, awkward, pained, patient, all mixed together. He hesitated, then shook his head. Never mind. Everyone understood. Either I didn't want children, or I couldn't have them. Their looks pierced me like needles. I set down the glass of juice in my hand. Not the $9.99 sunflower mug, it was long gone. This was just a free glass from the supermarket. Buy one get one free. We tried, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone turned toward me. Jason's face changed. Emily, don't, twice. I continued, meeting each pair of eyes one by one. The first time, 8 weeks pregnant. No heartbeat. The doctor recommended a procedure. Mrs. Miller covered her mouth. Jason was on a business trip that day. I asked if he could change his flight and come back. He said the project was too important. Mrs. Wilson lowered her head. I took a taxi to the hospital by myself. Signed the consent form myself. The operating room was cold. The nurse asked, "Where's your family?" I said, "Busy." Several women's eyes reddened. The second time, my voice trembled slightly, but I steadied it. 10 weeks pregnant. Bleeding. Emergency room. A week of bed rest. Still didn't make it. Mrs. Parker pulled her child closer. The doctor recommended both spouses get tested. Chromosomes. Other factors. I took a folded piece of paper from my bag. Creased deeply, I'd looked at it too many times. I smoothed it out on the table. My results, completely normal. I said, pointing to the last line. Doctor's recommendation, spouse undergo sperm quality testing. Silence. Absolute silence. Jason jumped up, his chair tipping over. "You forged that report," he yelled. "You'll do anything for money." That was when Lily rushed forward. She was dressed simply that day, in a white dress, looking like an angel. "Don't listen to her," Lily cried, tears appearing instantly. "Jason is a good man. He donates to children in poor areas. He saved a drowning child last year. It was in the newspaper." She turned to me, eyes sharp. "Emily, I know you're hurt, but you can't slander Jason like this." I lifted the glass in my hand. A free supermarket glass. Worth nothing. "Why is it," I asked, not Lily, but everyone, that the wife of a hero only deserves to drink from a free glass? "Why does he wear a $300,000 watch?" I said, stepping toward Jason, watching him instinctively step back. "Will I get called cheap for wearing a $189 dress? Why are his shirts $300 each, while my underwear comes from the supermarket, 3 for $20? I stopped in front of him, close enough to see the sweat on his forehead. "My $50,000 a month," I said slowly, clearly. "Who exactly did it support? You, your car, your watch, your suits, your golf membership, your parents' supplements." I turned to Lily. "And your mistress?" Lily's face went white. The neighbors began whispering, quiet at first, then building into a low hum. I saw Mrs. Miller say something to her husband. He frowned, but didn't argue. Mrs. Parker walked straight over and stood beside me. "Emily," she said, "do you need help?" The wind shifted. Just a little. But it shifted. Jason's parents arrived the next day. His mother walked in without even looking at me. She went straight to Jason. "You've lost weight," she said, touching his face. "Haven't you been eating properly?" Only then did she turn to me, scanning me up and down like she was inspecting a defective product. 5 years, she said coldly. "Not a single pregnancy. And you still have the nerve to ask for money?" I opened my mouth to speak, but she didn't give me the chance. Her hand came out of nowhere. The slap was fast, hard, loud. My head snapped to the side. My ears rang. I tasted blood. My lip had split. Everyone saw it. Jason, his father, the neighbors who hadn't left yet. Jason stood there. He didn't move. "Mom, don't do this," he said, but he didn't step forward. "She's still my wife. After all." "Wife?" his mother shrieked, spit flying. "A hen that doesn't lay eggs is no wife. She wasted my son's youth, wasted our family's money." She raised her hand again. This time, I caught her wrist. Her arm was thin, but surprisingly strong. I gripped it tightly. She couldn't pull free. "I didn't have children," I said, looking straight into her eyes. "Because your son can't." "You're lying," she screamed. "I have medical reports," I said calmly. "Do you? Do you dare let him get tested?" She froze. I released her and turned to Jason. "And one more thing," I said clearly, making sure everyone could hear. "I don't need your money anymore." I took a deep breath and said the line I'd prepared. "I'm seeing someone else." The yard exploded. Neighbors poured out of their houses, crowding the doorway, the windows. Jason stood there like he'd been struck by lightning. Then he lunged at me, eyes bloodshot. "What did you say?" "Say that again," I said. I stepped back, my voice steady. "I'm seeing someone else. Younger than you, better than you. And most importantly," I smiled, "he doesn't think I'm cheap." "Slut!" Jason roared. "Whore! I'll make sure you leave with nothing. I'll ruin you." The looks on the neighbors' faces changed again. The sympathy disappeared, replaced by contempt. A cheating woman, the worst kind of woman. My mother-in-law collapsed onto the ground, wailing. What sin did our family commit to bring in something like this? My father-in-law pointed at me. "Get out! Get out of our house right now." Jason pulled out his phone. "I'm posting this online. Let everyone see what kind of trash you are." Let him shout. Let him perform. Let him convict me in front of everyone. When he finally tired himself out, when he nailed me to the pillar of shame as an adulteress, I reached into my pocket and took out my phone. "I recorded everything you just said," I told him, "but that's not even the best part." I tapped another file. Jason's voice came through the speaker. "Baby, once she signs the property waiver, I'll divorce her and marry you right away. That living allowance is nothing. My dad's money will all be ours eventually." Lily's voice followed, soft and excited. "Then hurry up. I can't wait anymore. By the way, I saw a bag I like, 24,000, buy it," Jason said without hesitation. "As long as you're happy, she won't find out, right?" Lily asked. "That old hag?" Jason laughed. "She doesn't understand anything. Give her grocery money from the supermarket and she'll be grateful." The recording continued. Hotel dates, gifts, plans. Everyone could tell. The woman was Lily. When the recording ended, the yard fell into a terrifying silence. Lily stood at the back of the crowd, her face white as a ghost. Jason stared at her. She stared back. Then Lily turned and ran. Too late. Everyone had already seen. "It's fake!" Jason screamed, veins bulging in his neck. "It's fake! Emily would do anything for money." He lunged for my phone. I stepped back. The neighbors instinctively blocked him, not to protect me. Just reflex. "Even if the recording is real, Mr. Thompson said cautiously. "Emily, you admitted you're seeing someone else too." "That's not right either. Both of you have issues." Others nodded. "Yeah, one cheats. The other cheats. Call it even." Family matters are complicated. The wind shifted again. It always does. A man cheating can be understood. A woman cheating is unforgivable. A man cheats because his wife isn't good enough. A woman cheats because she's morally corrupt. I looked at their faces. One by one. Mrs. Miller wanted to speak. but her husband shot her a look. She fell silent. Mrs. Parker held her child and shook her head at me, her eyes saying, "Stop now." Fine. I stopped. That night, I slept in the guest room. I'd been sleeping there since we separated. There was a knock at the door after midnight. Jason stood outside in his pajamas, hair a mess, eyes swollen and red like he'd been crying. Then he dropped to his knees. The floor was hard. The sound of his knees hitting it was sharp and unmistakable. "Emily, I was wrong," he cried. Real tears. I could tell. It was Lily who seduced me. She came onto me. I was weak. I was stupid. He crawled forward, trying to grab my legs. I stepped back. "I love you. I only love you," he said, looking up at me with a face full of tears. "Let's start over, okay? I'll cut her off immediately. I'll give you my salary card. Everything. I'll give you everything." I looked at him. This was the face I'd loved for 5 years. On our wedding day, his hands shook as he slid the ring onto my finger. He promised he'd treat me well for the rest of his life. I believed him. Now he was kneeling in front of me, crying like a dog. "Okay," I said. His eyes lit up. "Conditions," I said, holding up a finger. "First, $1 million as compensation. Transfer it now." He nodded frantically. Okay. Second, from now on, $100,000 a month in living expenses, paid in advance. Fine. Third, I looked straight at him. Transfer your parents' apartment to my name. They insulted me for 5 years. That's emotional damages. Jason's tears stopped. That's my parents' retirement home. You won't?" I turned away. "Then forget it." Yes. He grabbed my arm. "I agree to everything. Just come back." I took out my phone. "Transfer the $1 million. Now." Jason froze. I don't have that much cash right now," he stammered. "The money's tied up in investments. I need to make appointments." "Doesn't your father have money?" I asked. "Didn't you say his money would all be yours eventually?" "My dad's money is controlled by my mom," Jason blurted out. "The only money I can use freely is what I earn. The rest is company shares. The economy's bad, the company's losing money. I can only access about $80,000 a month. I give you 50. Give Lily 30. I don't even have anything left for myself. And I still use your money to pay the mortgage and car loans." He stopped. "Too late." I nodded, smiling. "So you're not some rich heir. You only have $80,000 a month. 50 for me, 30 for Lily. Nothing left for yourself. And you still used my money to pay off loans?" Jason stood up. His face twisted. "You set me up. You said it yourself." I replied calmly, putting my phone away. "Thanks. I recorded this too." He stormed out and slammed the door. The moment it closed, I slid down to the floor, my back against the door. My hands were shaking, but my heartbeat was steady. The second round could begin. Jason filed for divorce, accusing me of marital infidelity and demanding that I leave with nothing. In court, he wore his most expensive suit. His lawyer was one of the most famous in the city. I wore a simple shirt dress and represented myself. I couldn't afford a lawyer, and I didn't want one. His lawyer presented the evidence. Mr. Thompson testified. "Emily has a bad temper. She often throws things at home." An audio clip, me admitting I was seeing someone else. Lily testified. "I saw her meeting a strange man at a cafe. They were very close. Photos were shown. Me and a young man sitting together in a cafe. The man was a college student I sponsored, someone from a poor rural area. That day, he'd come to give me a thank you letter. The judge was a middle-aged woman with a stern face. The plaintiff claims he provided you with $50,000 per month for living expenses," she said, looking at me. "Do you acknowledge this?" "Yes," I said. "Do you acknowledge that you were dissatisfied and demanded more?" "No," I replied. "Your Honor, I have a question." "Go ahead." "If the $50,000 per month was for my personal living expenses," I said slowly, "why was I required to use it to pay for the following items?" I took out a thick stack of papers. Mortgage, $3,200 per month. HOA fees, $800. Utilities, $500 on average. Jason's car insurance, $400. His golf club membership, $1,200. Health supplements for his parents, $1,000 monthly. Family dinners, Social obligations. Gifts, about $2,000 per month. Dry cleaning for his suits. Car maintenance. Phone bills, I read them out one by one. For 10 full minutes. The courtroom assistant began calculating. The clicking of the calculator echoed through the silent courtroom. Tap, 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 like a heartbeat. After half an hour, the result was ready. Based on the calculation, the judge read. The so-called living expenses covered all household and family expenditures. After deducting fixed costs, approximately $12,000 per month remained as the defendant's personal discretionary funds. She looked up at me. This aligns closely with your testimony. Jason's lawyer jumped up. Then what about her savings? She has $37,000 in her account. If she only had $12,000 per month, how could she have savings? She must have had other income, possibly from an affair. The judge turned to me. You need to explain the source of your savings. I took out the final document from my bag. Bank transfer records. Clearly printed. These are transfers from my father. I said. For the past 5 years. He sent me $5,000 every month. The memo reads, spending money for my daughter. Don't let your in-laws look down on you. I slid the papers forward. What my father didn't know. My voice grew hoarse. Was that the money he sent because he feared his daughter might suffer? I never spent it. And what he also didn't know was that I not only didn't spend his money, I also put my own $12,000 a month back into this household. The courtroom erupted. In the gallery sat my parents. My mother was crying. My father clenched his fists. Jason's face turned ghostly pale. His lawyer made one last attempt. This only proves she's frugal. It doesn't prove she didn't cheat. The judge struck the gavel. The infidelity allegation lacks sufficient evidence. The recordings provided by the defendant indicate that the plaintiff engaged in extramarital affairs. Does the plaintiff wish to respond? Jason stood up, sat down, stood up again. Then he did something stupid. I have new evidence, he shouted, pulling a USB drive from his briefcase. She's supporting a young man, a kept boy. I have audio. The USB was plugged in. A young man's voice played through the speakers. Emily, thank you for sponsoring me. I'll study hard. When I graduate and start working, I'll repay you. That's him. Jason pointed at the screen. The boy in the cafe photos. She's keeping a young lover with my money. My mother-in-law wailed from the gallery. Your Honor, make her leave with nothing. A woman like this doesn't deserve a cent. Lily stood up too. She wore plain clothes, looking like a victim. I can testify, she said tearfully. I saw her with that boy, very close. She even touched his head. The judge frowned and looked at me. Is this a student you were sponsoring? Yes, I said. The courtroom buzzed. But the reason, I continued, is that his father died of cancer. His mother is disabled, and he was admitted to college without the means to attend. I sponsored him through a registered charity program. All transfers are documented, and the organization can testify. Charity? Jason sneered. Does charity require private meetings? Touching his head, the judge looked at me. You need to explain. I nodded and took out another USB drive. Small, silver, like a key. This is my 7th piece of evidence. I said, it may involve privacy. I recommend clearing minors from the courtroom. The judge signaled the bailiffs. A few young people were escorted out. The USB was inserted. The screen lit up. The first video filled the screen. A hotel room. Curtains drawn. Dim lighting. 2 bodies on the bed. The woman's face was unmistakable. Lily. The man's face was even clearer. Jason. A timestamp glowed in the corner. June 18, 2022. My birthday. That day. He'd told me he was working late. He transferred $500 and said, buy yourself something nice. I baked a cake and waited until midnight. He never came home. The second video played. Another hotel. A bathtub filled with bubbles. The 2 of them drinking wine, laughing. The third video. My living room. Late at night. Lily was wearing my pajamas, the silk ones. A birthday gift from my mother. I'd never even worn them. She fed Jason grapes. When is that old hag finally going to leave? Lily asked lazily. My dad said once you're divorced, he'll transfer company shares to you. Jason laughed and kissed her. Soon. She's already agreed to give up the property. Once the paperwork's done, we'll get married. The fourth video. Inside a car. Dashcam footage. Jason was driving. Lily sat in the passenger seat. Oh, right, Lily said. Can your parents' old apartment be transferred to us later? The location's great. It's worth a lot. No problem, Jason replied. My parents' stuff is basically mine anyway. The video ended. The courtroom was dead silent. I turned toward Lily. She was standing there, swaying, like she might collapse. Miss Lily, I said politely, the video mentioned your father's company. Is it called Xin Yuan Building Materials? She nodded instinctively. According to public records. I continued, pulling out printed documents. Xin Yuan Building Materials filed for bankruptcy liquidation 3 months ago. $50 million in debt. Assets frozen. The legal representative, your father, is currently missing. Suspected of fleeing. I handed the papers to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. Did you know this? I asked Jason calmly. Or did you not? Jason whipped his head around to look at Lily. Her face went from white to red, then drained of color again. She opened her mouth. No sound came out. Then she broke. She pointed at Jason, her hand shaking, her voice shrill. He forced me, she screamed. He said his wife was rich but stupid, that once he divorced her, he'd get half the property. He said he'd marry me, said he'd buy me a house, buy me bags. He showed me Emily's bank statements. Said she had $50,000 a month and didn't know how to spend it. Said women like her didn't deserve to be wives. The hotels were booked by him. The gifts were bought by him. The plans were his. I was just, she collapsed into sobs. Jason lunged at her. Shut up. You bitch. You're the one who seduced me. The two of them grappled in the courtroom. Bailiffs rushed forward and pulled them apart. The judge struck the gavel, once, twice, 3 times. Order! The room fell silent. The judge studied the documents for a long time. Then she looked up. Based on the clear evidence of marital infidelity by the plaintiff, as well as attempts to conceal and transfer marital assets and engage in fraudulent litigation, this court rules as follows. She read slowly, every word precise. The court grants the divorce. 1. The plaintiff shall compensate the defendant for 5 years of unpaid domestic labor, calculated at $5,000 per month, totaling $300,000. 2. Emotional distress damages in the amount of $500,000. 3. The marital residence shall be awarded to the defendant. The remaining mortgage shall be borne by the defendant. The plaintiff shall compensate the defendant in a lump sum of $280,000 for payments already made. 4. 50% of the plaintiff's liquid assets, vehicles, and other personal property shall be awarded to the defendant. She looked directly at Jason. In total, the plaintiff shall pay $1,080,000 in cash to the defendant. The residence shall belong to the defendant. Remaining assets shall be divided equally. Jason jumped up. I'm appealing. This is biased. You are free to do so, the judge said coldly. However, the court reminds the plaintiff that potential perjury, false accusations, and possible financial fraud referenced in the recordings may warrant further investigation by the prosecution. She struck the gavel. Court is adjourned. 1 week later, Jason's company released a public statement. Due to Vice President Jason Miller's serious personal misconduct causing significant damage to the company's image, all positions and duties are hereby terminated effective immediately. His Mercedes was repossessed. He was 3 months behind on the payments. His watches, suits, and golf clubs were auctioned. His bank accounts were frozen. He moved out of the house. I heard he moved back in with his parents, squeezing into an old 2-bedroom rental. The last time I saw him was at the property transfer office. He looked thinner. His suit was wrinkled. His shirt collar was stained. His beard unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. Emily, he said hoarsely. I really did love you. In the beginning. I really did. I didn't answer. Can we start over? He took a step toward me. I don't want the money. I don't want anything. Just you. I looked into his eyes. I used to love them. I used to say they looked like stars. Now there was only desperation. Do you know what disgusts me the most about you? I asked. He shook his head. Not the cheating. Not the stinginess. Not the lies. I stepped closer. Close enough to smell the cheap cologne on him. He used to wear luxury brands. It's that you used my money to support your mistress, and still called me cheap. That you used my patience to perform your happiness. That you used my silence to prop up your dignity. I stepped back. Now your dignity is gone. I picked up the pen and signed the transfer documents. My hand was steady. My life, I said quietly, is just beginning. I turned and walked away. I heard him call my name behind me, his voice fading. Outside, the sunlight was bright. I went back to my parents' house. Not back home. My mother cooked my favorite braised pork. My father repainted my old room a soft blue, my favorite color as a child. My trophies were still on the shelf. First place in elementary school speech contests. Second place in middle school writing competitions. Outstanding graduate award from college. 5 years of marriage had almost made me forget I had once been someone remarkable. I'm sorry, my father said, eyes red. We shouldn't have rushed you into marriage. Shouldn't have said women need a place to belong. No, I said, shaking my head. I don't regret getting married. I only regret waking up too late. My mother held me tightly. Awake is good, she said. Awake is enough. I started looking for work. 5 empty years on my resume made it hard. But I'd majored in finance. I'd worked in investment banking for 2 years after graduation. My performance had been strong. I pulled out my old work clothes. They still fit, just looser. I'd lost 15 pounds in 5 years. I interviewed at 6 companies. 5 rejections. The 7th was a small investment firm. The owner was a woman. She read my resume, then looked at me for a long time. 5-year gap. She said, "Why?" "Family reasons." "And why now?" I thought about it, then answered honestly, "Because I realized marriage isn't a destination. I am." She smiled. "Start next Monday," she said. "The salary may not meet your expectations, but there's opportunity." I thanked her and bowed deeply. On my first day, I bought myself a new dress. Not expensive, but it fit. Light gray, simple cut. At lunch, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Emily, it's me." Jason's voice cracked. I was wrong. I really was. My parents scold me. My friends ignore me. I lost my job. "I only have you. Let's remarry," he pleaded. "I'll do housework. I'll give you all my income. I walked to the window. The office was on the 12th floor. The city below looked small. People like ants. "Jason," I said calmly, "do you know what you sound like right now?" He sobbed. "What?" "Like someone who once waited for living expenses. Cheap." I hung up, blocked the number. My hand trembled slightly. My heart felt light, like setting down something very heavy. After work, in the lobby, I ran into him. He stood there holding convenience store coffee, wearing the same wrinkled suit. His eyes lit up when he saw me. "Emily, I've been waiting 2 hours." My coworkers looked over. I didn't avoid it. "Jason," I said clearly, "we're divorced. Legally, morally, emotionally. It's over." He reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Marriage isn't an ATM," I said, meeting his eyes. "And it's not a fig leaf for a man's dignity. You once had a beautiful cloth, me. You used it to wipe your shoes, to prop yourself up, and then complained it wasn't shiny enough. Now the cloth is gone, and you finally realize you've been naked all along." His face drained of color. I turned and walked away. My heels clicked against the marble floor. At the entrance, the sunset spilled in golden light across the ground. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't someone's wife, or someone's daughter-in-law, or someone who couldn't have children. I was just Emily, 32, divorced, working again, savings in my account, clothes that fit, wounds in my heart, but healing. My back was straight, like when I learned to dance as a child, like when I spoke on stage in college, like a woman who had finally found herself. And my good days, they were still ahead of me. The wind brushed my face, carrying the scent of summer. I smiled, and walked forward, without looking back.